My wife called me useless and accused me of living off her paycheck. What she didn't know was that I was the CEO of the very company she was so proud to work for. My name is David Miller. I'm 48 years old, and I lived with my wife Emily and our 2 children, Sophia and Jack, in a quiet suburb outside Chicago. My children were my world. I helped them with their homework, drove them to school, took Jack to soccer practice, and did everything I could to give both of them a good education and a strong foundation in life. Emily, however, saw things very differently. She was a senior manager at a major technology company called Mardesi Technologies. At first, I was proud of her success. I encouraged her, supported her, and celebrated every promotion she earned. But slowly, success changed her. One evening at dinner, she looked at me and said, "I work all day, pay the bills, and support this family. You're living off my money. What exactly do you do?" I glanced at our children. "Emily, please don't say things like that in front of them." She shook her head. "Why not? It's the truth. You're useless, David. Look at where I am in my career, and look at where you are." I said nothing. She had no idea how wrong she was. 5 years earlier, I had quietly purchased Mardesi Technologies. I kept my identity out of the spotlight, rebuilt the company, expanded its operations, and eventually became its CEO. I never told Emily. When she applied for a job at Mardesi Technologies, I didn't give her special treatment. She earned the position because she was genuinely talented. But every time she performed exceptionally well, her promotion eventually landed on my desk. I approved her first promotion. I approved her second. And I approved every salary increase that came with them. Emily believed her success proved that she was far more successful than her husband. Then one morning, she came home smiling. "David, I'm getting another promotion." I smiled. "Congratulations, I'm proud of you." She looked at me with a smug smile. "See, I'm moving forward while you're still standing in the same place." I simply replied, "Sometimes what a person thinks is the end is actually where the real story begins." She laughed and walked away. The following Friday, Mardesi Technologies was holding a major promotion ceremony at its Chicago headquarters. The CEO himself would announce Emily's promotion. She had absolutely no idea who that CEO was. The night before the ceremony, I laid my black suit across the bed. The next morning, Emily stood in front of the mirror, admiring herself. "Today, my life is going to change." I looked at her and quietly replied, "Yes, Emily, today, everything is going to change." She left for work. A few minutes later, I picked up my car keys and headed toward Mardesi Technologies. For the first time in 5 years, I was going to walk into my wife's workplace as the man she never knew I was. But I had no idea that revealing my identity would be only the beginning, because inside Mardesi Technologies, another dangerous secret was waiting for me. I pulled into the parking lot of Mardesi Technologies' Chicago headquarters with a strange sense of calm. For 5 years, I had kept my real identity hidden from Emily, but that day, everything was about to change. The security guard immediately recognized me. "Good morning, Mr. Miller." Several executives approached and greeted me respectfully. Across the lobby, Emily stood with a group of coworkers, proudly waiting for her promotion ceremony. She still had no idea who I was. The chief operating officer walked onto the stage. "Today, we're recognizing one of our outstanding employees. Emily Miller has earned a new position because of her hard work and dedication." Emily smiled. Then the COO continued, "And now I'd like to welcome our CEO." The doors opened. I walked into the room. Emily's eyes landed on me. "David?" I walked onto the stage. The COO handed me the microphone. "Everyone, please welcome our CEO, David Miller." The room erupted in applause. Emily didn't clap. She simply stared at me, her face turning pale. David? I looked directly at her. Emily, your hard work deserves recognition. Congratulations. She slowly walked onto the stage. As I handed her the promotion certificate, she whispered, "You're the CEO?" "Yes." "For how long?" 5 years. She looked as if the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. After the ceremony, Emily followed me into my office. I turned the screen toward her. "Tell me the truth, Emily." She looked at the records and immediately began shaking. "I didn't know this was happening." "Then explain." She took a deep breath. "Carter asked me to send him some files. He told me they were needed for an internal audit. I trusted him." I stared at her. "What did he tell you about me?" She looked down. "He said you were making decisions that were hurting the company. He convinced me that removing you as CEO would be better for everyone." A feeling of cold ran through me. Emily hadn't betrayed me because she wanted my company. Someone had been manipulating her. But one question remained. Why was Carter so desperate to get me removed? And what exactly was he planning to do with my company? For the first time, I realized that my marriage wasn't the only thing falling apart. Someone inside my company had been preparing a much bigger attack, and my wife might have been nothing more than a pawn in a game I hadn't even known we were playing.
The moment Emily said Carter's name, everything suddenly made sense. I ordered my security team to investigate Carter Holdings, his financial records, and every connection he had inside Mardacy Technologies. A few hours later, the report was on my desk. Carter had been secretly buying company shares for nearly 2 years. His plan was simple: gain enough control to eventually take over Mardacy Technologies. But then my security chief showed me something even more disturbing. "Sir, Emily signed several legal documents for Carter." I opened the file. If those documents had gone through, Carter would have gained a legal claim to a significant portion of the company. Emily looked at the papers and burst into tears. "David, I swear I didn't know what I was signing." This time, I believed her. "I know," I said quietly. "You made a terrible mistake, but you were manipulated too." We decided to set a trap. I called Carter and pretended I knew nothing. I told him I was worried about problems inside the company and needed his help. He agreed to meet me immediately. Carter walked into my office believing his plan was working. He didn't know my security team was already recording everything. During our conversation, Carter admitted that he had used Emily to obtain confidential information and planned to have me removed as CEO. He thought he had finally won. He was wrong. Within hours, we handed all the evidence to law enforcement. Carter was charged with fraud, theft of confidential information, and attempting to take control of the company through illegal means. Emily cooperated fully with the investigation. When I returned home that evening, she was waiting for me. She stood quietly in the living room before finally speaking. "David, I didn't look down on you because you didn't make money. I looked down on you because I thought you had failed." She wiped away a tear. "I was wrong. I thought taking care of our children meant you were doing nothing. I never understood how much you sacrificed for this family." I looked at her. "The problem was never money, Emily. It was respect." She nodded. "Can you forgive me?" I didn't answer immediately. Forgiveness wasn't something I could give in a single sentence. Finally, I said, "I can't erase everything that happened. But if you're truly willing to change, we can start again." That night, I called Sophia and Jack into the room. I looked at both of them and said, "Never judge a person's worth by their job, salary, or title." Emily stood beside me, listening quietly. Then she added, "And never make someone feel small just because you think you're more successful than they are." For the first time in a long time, our home felt peaceful. I was still the CEO of Mardacy Technologies, but I realized something that day. Being a CEO was never my greatest achievement. My greatest achievement was being a father my children could look up to. And my biggest lesson was this:
Never measure a person's value by what they earn or what position they hold. The person you dismiss as weak or useless may be carrying responsibilities you know nothing about. And respect isn't something you demand. It's something you earn through your character.